Well, hey guys, welcome to Bitesize Church, and this is part 4 and the final part of our little series looking at the topic of faith. Now, in part 1, we looked at what is faith. Then in part 2, we looked at the idea of what's faith in God. In part 3, we explored what's the impact of faith on our lives. Does it make any difference? And now, as we finish this series, we're looking at the idea of moving forward in faith. So where do we go from here? To really explore the idea of what comes next, we need to turn again to a story in the Bible. And it's a very famous story, often used at harvest time. And it's a story called the parable of the sower. Now, a parable is another word for story. And this is a story that Jesus told to some of his followers and to a crowd. And he used these parables to kind of explain the message he was trying to get across. So this is the parable of the sower. Many of you would have heard this before, but it's well worth hearing again when we think about moving forward in faith. Where do we go from here in regards to our faith? So this is the parable of the sower. This is what Jesus says. A farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it didn't have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow, but when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among the thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still others fell on good soil, where it produced a crop 160 or 30 times what was sown. The reason that I think that story works for us today is as we're thinking about, well, where do we go from here in relation to our own faith? We have to think about, well, what's the position of our faith? What's it look like at the moment? Now, is our faith kind of quite shallow? Is it something which has always been quite a surface level faith? We may well have gone to church for a long time or called ourselves Christians for a long time, or maybe we don't even go to church, but we still kind of consider ourselves Christian and we still have a faith in God, but it's never gone beyond a particular level, a particular point. It's always remained here. And so actually, if you looked at the depth of our faith, if we were really honest with ourselves, we'd say it's quite shallow. And so if anything kind of comes along, it doesn't really have any root to it. So it doesn't take a great deal for it to kind of wither up or be challenged. For our faith to grow, for our faith to move forward, one of the things it can't be is static. Now, I mentioned about this in part 3 of our talk on faith, part 3. The idea that faith is not something that can be static. It cannot just remain in one place. It has to change and develop and move and evolve. Even as we journey through our lives and all the differences and the changes that we go through, it should affect and deepen our faith. But we have to work at it. We have to want that to be the case. So that's kind of the first question, I guess, for you really and for me is so do we want our faith to grow and develop, or are we happy with it being at a surface level, at a level which, well, it's not really going anywhere, it's not really doing anything, it's kind of static. We don't really want it to move from there particularly. But if we do want to know God better, if we want our faith to actually have a true impact on our lives, and not just in the things that we do, but in what we believe about ourselves, in the hopes that we have for our life, and indeed the hopes we have for beyond this life, then our faith is going to be key to that. So there's a few things to really consider for ourselves. There's a few things that I want us to look at. So that first question, if you were honest with yourself and you looked at your faith right now, your faith in God, what does the future hold for it? What does the future hold for you with your personal journey of faith? Does it hold a growing closer to God? Does it hold God leading you to do new things in new places, leading you forward with purpose? Does it lead to a belief that God can act in you and through you? Or is the future of your faith, well, at some point it'll probably wither up and kind of die. It'll get challenged, or it'll get choked by the things around it. That other bit from the story I just read, that parable of the sower, the idea that sometimes our faith is planted and it grows all right, but the things around us, the things in our life that happen to us, it chokes it. Is that the future of your faith? That it gets kind of choked and doesn't flourish? What would it take for you to deepen your faith? How would you go about that, do you think? There's so many Christians that I speak to who have remained in the same kind of place as Christians and as people of faith as when their Christian journey began. Excuse me. They've never really moved forward. They've never really matured. In another part of the Bible, Paul talks about this idea that when you were a child, you needed milk, but you're not a child anymore. You need to develop and have kind of meat and proper food, or you can't stay in that place. Otherwise, that's just not going to do it. So what about you? What would it take for you to deepen your faith? What are the steps that you need to take to move forward with your faith? Now, you might not have any clear answers for that. You might be like, you know what, Joe, I'd love to move forward with my faith. I would love to deepen my faith, but I don't even know where to begin with that. Well, the first thing is to start really simple. The next series of Bitesize Church we're doing, which is coming out very soon after this one, is simply looking at the Bible. What is the Bible? How is it put together? But one of them is, so how do I read the Bible? Reading the Bible is one of the key places to start to move your faith forward, to deepen it, to strengthen it. Because it's in the Bible that you meet the entire character of God through hearing the stories of Jesus Christ. Read Mark's Gospel. Read it for yourself. Start there. But we have to want to. We have to want our faith to move forward. We have to want to become into a deeper relationship with God through our faith. We have to work at it. One of the famous quotes that I've said quite a lot when talking about different things is comparing our relationship with God like comparing a marriage. So Susie and I are married. We've been married 20 years. And we know we're married, and we can prove that we're married because there's a piece of paper that says we got married. The wedding certificate we have is all the proof we need. And actually, we don't need to do anything else to be married. That piece of paper declares our marriage. And yet, our marriage is not just that piece of paper. In fact, our marriage isn't that piece of paper. Our marriage is the thing that Susie and I have worked on and developed and grown together. Our marriage is so much more than just the proof that it exists. Our relationship is constantly changing and growing as we journey through life together and we deal with whatever life throws at us. So it needs to be with our faith in God. We can kind of have the proof. I got baptized. Here's my baptism certificate. Or I got confirmed. Here's my confirmation certificate. Or I go to church every week. Or I pray every now and again. We can have the kind of outside proof of, I am a Christian. Look, I believe in God. Here's the proof. But that's not faith. That's not what it's about. It's about journeying through life with God, finding out more about God, building a relationship with God that changes and moves as we grow up and we grow older and go through all the things that life throws at us. It should be something that is continuously needing to be worked on and something that we continuously want to work on. The reason Susie and I have stayed married for 20 years isn't because it's always been easy. Faith in God is rarely simple or straightforward. There are times when it's deeply challenging. There are times when our faith is really challenged. Do we even have it? There are times when life is very difficult and we'll find ourselves asking questions of why. God, why did you let this happen? God, I believe in you and I have faith in you, and yet this still happened. But we want to work through it. We want to work at our relationship. So just like Susie and I, we want to stay together because we love one another in a deep down gritty kind of way. So we work when things are difficult. We get through the times in life when it's hard, and we do it together because we want to be in that continually growing relationship together. Is that true for how we feel about our relationship with God, our own faith? Do we really want it to grow? Do we want it to develop? Will we work at it? So there's some very serious questions that only you can answer, and you must answer them for yourself. And it is, first of all, what does the future hold for your faith? What's the future look like when you consider what your faith will be like over the coming years? The second thing, so how could you deepen your faith? Perhaps you feel like your faith has always stayed at that surface level. It's never really moved from when it began. It's always stayed kind of here. So how would you go about deepening it? Do you have an interest in doing some Bible readings to find out more about the character of God and the character of Christ, and kind of what we can discover as we go deeper in our faith? How will your faith enable you to look forward in hope? You see, at the heart of our faith is a hope that goes beyond even this life. So how will your faith enable you to look forward with that hope active and there in your life? And the final question, and this is kind of the crucial one that I want you to answer. But again, you have to answer it for yourself. And if you want help with these things, if you're like, you know what, Joe, I do want to deepen my faith, but I don't know where to start. And even though you said about reading the Bible, I'm a bit nervous about it. Don't sit there and think, well, I just won't do anything. Get in touch with me. I would love to help you find ways that you can journey closer to God and deepen your faith in a way that works for you. I would love to do that with you. So please get in touch with me if you need to. But this is the question that I leave you with. And this is where we leave our topic of faith. It's over to you. What are the steps that you need to take to deepen and to have more faith in God? And are you willing to take them? What are the steps you need to take to deepen and to have more faith in God? And do you want to take them? What I'd like us to do, just as we bring this session to a close, is we're just going to say the Lord's Prayer together, and then we'll go about our day. So let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. It's been wonderful to spend this time with you. Do keep looking out for Bitesize Church. The next topic that we're going to get into is, like I said, the Bible. We're going to look at the Bible. What is it? How did it come about? And most importantly, so how do I read it? How do I begin to read the Bible and get the most out of it? You guys take care, stay safe, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.